Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are starting today a game called RiME. Now, from what I recall, and what it seems like at least, RiME is a game that was probably funded by Sony to be a PlayStation exclusive that eventually got ported to the PC. Uh, it's a short little adventure that is um, certainly in the visual vein of uh, Journey, but it was not anywhere as well received as Journey. I'm going to be playing this at 1080p with the highest visual settings possible. Perhaps that will be a mistake because I recall this game did seem to have some problems. And if I can move with the mouse, I guess I have to click over here to get to the advanced. By default, everything here as far as bloom, depth of field, and motion blur we're off. I turned on water tessellation. We'll see if that can all work. Audio is balanced in kind of a nice place. I still think music and sound by default should be at the 50% mark, but even putting them equally balanced at 75% gives you an extra 25% that you can turn the volume up. This game also starts in a borderless windowed mode at 720 for some weird reason. If we go back, and I wanted to mention this, so it starts in like borderless windowed mode and at 720, and it has this resolution scale where you could potentially scale down the base resolution while keeping the windows still at 1920 by 1080, which is what I would want it to be. It has an uncapped frame rate. I don't need that because frankly 60 frames per second is all my recording software is going to record anyways, so we can limit it so that it doesn't have potential to spike to maybe 120 or even 240 frames per second in one scene and then drop down to 40 frames or 50 frames, because that's way more noticeable than having a consistent 60 frames and just being happy with that. What I'm not really happy with here is that there's a loading screen to get to this menu, and there's not even a logo here. Like, it would be easy for them to have an artist just put the word RiME in this constellation, or even put RiME down here in the lower left hand corner. I imagine because there was a loading menu, as soon as I hit new game, I'm just gonna hop in here. So we'll see. Yep. This is a very short game. I think it ran out of money. I think they had trouble programming it. I suspect that the team that worked on it might have been new. It looks like it's been programmed in Unity, if I was to guess. This is a nice way to start a new game, I suppose, and just have the pause menu be effectively the main menu. Also, here we can see a red thing flying around that looks a lot like the scarf from Journey. The real shame, see, they had a logo, why not have the pause menu on one single frame there on the logo? That would have been so much better. This looks actually really nice, but it also kind of reminds me of the puzzle game The Witness in its visual aspect, in its kind of color palette. But by the looks of it, you can see in that back left area, that's almost certainly a reference to Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. So this clearly was a group of producers and fans. I hit a button there and I'll start lifting up that liked those major Sony exclusives, of which none have come to PC, unfortunately. This is a weird place polygon count wise, because it's going for kind of a cartoony I would almost call this like a medium polygon count. It's not a low effort, low polygon. Those rocks look like rocks. They're not just squares. These crabs look like crabs. Water looks good. I did see a little bit of screen tearing, and we might have a little bit of that, but that's not terrible. Let's come over here. There's a collection of achievements that are with this game, but this is also a super short experience. According to howlongtobeat.com, this is 10 hours to do everything, even with knowing my own slowness. It probably won't be much more than that. I think a lot of the puzzles are light puzzles in this. So A, we learned to jump. Because I accidentally hit A there, I jumped off the edge. B is crouching. Y seems to do nothing. Left right trigger seems to do nothing. Right stick moves, left stick does that. So we have a jar that might have just been put there as a visual indicator that you're supposed to get up this direction. I'm kind of going in the opposite direction than I imagined that the game really wanted me to go. We can jump, we can platform. Good to know. It, I suppose, brings out a slightly interesting question. What does one do when you wake up on the shore? That jump was very awkward that I just pulled off. I don't think I should have succeeded there. Nice foliage here. It's not the best ever. This probably is one of those games that spent too much of its budget on the animation. I recall vaguely that when this game was originally announced, these kind of trailers were shown very early in its announcement, and generally speaking, you don't want to work on the graphics until you're nearly complete with all the gameplay mechanics and movement. So this might be another game that is just an example. I don't have a zoom in with the left or right stick, by the way. This game might be another example of a game that E3'd itself, in the sense that it presented a very visually appealing game and then got caught in development hell and never was able to get the gameplay mechanic or the story really written. I don't think there's much of any kind of story here. X picks this up. Nice audio. We play a horn, and that was one of what looks like 5 collectibles. This might be a very small open world island with not too much really going on for it. While we see animals, and that was something that would have been nice in the game The Witness, which is a 3D puzzle game. It also totally makes sense in that game why there weren't animals. Wow, that's just a straight up loop, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not missing something, am I? Yeah, you can't grab things unless it has that slight white edge to it. So this really isn't an open transversal scenario. It is. Wow. Thanks, camera. We'll just do it this way then. You can really only go where the game wants you to go. No dive animation, but yes, swimming animation. Now I'm getting something that seems to indicate he can't hold his breath for too long. Oops, it starts to get dark once you get too far out. So there very well may be a shell somewhere. Him wearing a robe slash skirt has you looking right up his underwear. When he swims. I guess I'm glad there isn't a scenario in any game where you stay dripping wet after you swim. That's one of the things that would happen in reality that just doesn't really need to exist in video games. You've seen in some games like the new Tomb Raider reboots that for a brief 2 seconds or so you'll see Lara Croft come out of the water and like wrap her hair, wring out her hair being wet and be slightly wet for just that brief amount of time. But most games do it right. Now the camera is adjusting, so I definitely see that big tower. Apparently our character just blacked out and moved at least a few feet forward, because I was right here and they did not animate me walking to this point to go to be here. We can see there's a plume of light and another plume of light and another plume of light, and back there's another plume of light. So each of the locations seems somewhat obvious of where we're supposed to go. The seagulls are gonna take us. They're gonna fly around. Yeah, a lot of these games with open worlds often do end up feeling incredibly empty because they just don't have wildlife in them or anything. So this looks oddly rendered on the inside of the stones. It's just not textured, it seems, at all. So we may have an unfinished product here. And then we need, I guess, a fox statue. Or maybe we don't. Maybe this is a case of we just yell at the fox statue and then the fox spirit flies to an elevator. What am I running towards? A pig? Is that a pig or a sheep or... Yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna call these fox statues, and apparently we need all 4 of them. And then we've got some little pigs. Here we have an X, which is... Can we feed this? There you go. You want some food? There you go. Eat to your delights, pigs. You can't get to the through the thorns. There we go. Eat up. I don't know how many times I would have to feed the pigs, or if the pigs would start doing something to help me. Yeah, this really feels like a game that probably, in its current release, playing this a year or 2 years, maybe even 3 years after it came out, it's fine. It's way better than a lot of the low effort games that get released on Steam. It's an interesting looking visual and possibly even audio wise introductory project for a team, or announcement for a video game team that they're changing how they're going to make games. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a lot of mobile game developers in particular trying to make something like this, which is I would call this like a B game, or maybe even a C game. It's definitely not a AAA game. Maybe this is an A game, even. Like, yeah, there's a weird system that people have developed, certainly, as far as whether a game is a AAA game, a AA game, an I game for being an indie game, or a triple I game for being a indie game that is very high quality. There's something, or there was something over here standing, and it seems like it is moved. You have to be on the circle to be able to yell at these. Yeah, they should have thought about his outfit a little bit better. Maybe there's some other outfits we unlock. Actually, I think I did see an achievement for unlocking different outfits. There's quite a few games that kind of have this Greek Roman art appeal to it, like where the characters look like they're not from a modern time, for sure. They're in some other kind of fantasy world. But then there's a lot of games. This guy gonna let me through? No. Nope. He does not want to let me through. Well, I think we've already figured out the solution to that. We just need to come over here and grab a fruit. I guess the question will be how many of these am I going to have to feed? There we go. You could have a deeper story here where this is the island that children are sent to learn to be in tune with nature, the nature of this world. But I don't think there really is a deeper story. Yeah, I don't think it breaks down to that. And honestly, they're gonna have to struggle, in my opinion, just to get this to be 5 hours. I feel like I'm gonna be done in 30 minutes. Unless there's some kind of limiting factor. Camera's got this all awkward. Oh man, I fell to my death apparently. There's some kind of jellyfish maybe in the water that stung me. Or something. I have no idea what actually just happened. I'm seeing a couple of these horns. Yeah, so far this really feels like a game that had it just come out and just been, here's a small indie game, it probably wouldn't have gotten as many sales initially, but it also wouldn't run into the problem that I think a lot of the criticism it got, where when it did come out, where people felt like this was going to be the next Journey and it's totally missing enough content to be the next Journey. Right. So there's pieces to something. And yeah, it doesn't seem like you die or anything. But it feels like I need some kind of ability, because I can't make that jump, and that feels like that totally is a jump I should be able to make. And even the game is telling me, look, turn around, you can't do that yet. Like, some of these jumps are pretty floaty. You're from a very, very far distance capable of reaching what you're aiming for, if that's their intent, to let you reach what you're aiming for. Right. So there's some wall climbing. Okay. And we press B to get down on those walls. And that's just a jump we can make. We very quickly ended up in the nighttime. So it seems like it just has a very fast day-night cycle. See, there's another Journey-esque character, a cloaked character. The achievements are implying that I already should know what they're called, but for just so I don't spoil, I won't mention their name. Because also in their name is an indication of what their movement or actions might be, and their true nature might be, I guess is the best way to say that. And this is one of those cases where can't just jump down. It doesn't have like a oof sound or anything, so that they don't even want the character to feel like he is dying. This totally feels like a game you could easily never run into a death sequence. At least right now it does. This would be one of those games where you'd really have to be extremely careful about when you released it. You would really want the right time, where there's not a lot of competition, not a lot of AAA games coming out. But if you put this out in the middle of the January-February lull that tends to happen, I have no idea which way they want me to go on this. Looks like there's a cave to the right. It looks like there's a cave to the left. Oh wait, no, this is a climb down path, isn't it? the vines don't really stand out visually, at least in this current shadowing. Yeah, there's definitely some form of jellyfish over here. I think designed so that you can't just get in the water and jump. Here we have another collectible. So now we have a fox animal totem. Cool. Games will get weird, certainly, though, if this is all you've got. If it's just a nice island. And the shame about this is you have a nice island that you've designed. You have a nice environment. You have a nice 3D model characters and audio and such. And you kind of can't do anything with this ever again. Even if you made another game exactly on the same island, you would get people complaining. Considerable amount of it being an asset flip or a low effort rip-off of RiME. And you'll always have a small fan base. There's nothing you can see through these rocks, is there? So all that effort kind of falls apart, even if the same company came back and tried to say, well, let's make a sequel in the same world, or let's do something else with this. At best, you can maybe mirror this island and move things around and redesign it, which is still a decent amount of work. But if you did redesign it a certain way and put it in a different type of game, maybe put it in a mobile game where less people are likely to see it, there might be a way that you could reuse some of this effort, this content. So, because that is the fact of how things work in the video game world right now, then you really have to hit a game out of the park. There really can't be something that is mediocre. And I think mediocre is going to be a kind of a key phrase when describing this game. Let's see. Now I'm going somewhere I have not been really guided to go. So either I'm moving to some collectible, or I'm moving to an area where there actually won't be anything to do. These are pretty. It looks like the seagull totem, which looks like we're gonna have to figure out a way up. Can we get on that platform? Yes, but will that be high enough? Assassin's Creed Odyssey in particular is an example of a game. It's gonna be ridiculous if there's just like a ladder back here. But yeah, Odyssey is a great example of a game that has, I think, a lot of content and visual stuff that you could see that certainly a lot of people who don't play the game won't see. So we can get up on a platform here, but that's not really a jump to that. this feels like this would be something. Alright. There we go. This does feel very Assassin's Creed-like. If you were going to take out the assassination part of Assassin's Creed and make it more of a kid-friendly game, which I'm not sure that solves a lot of stuff, because even Assassin's Creed at this point has pretty much given up on being about assassinations and climbing, and turned into just a regular RPG. So now we have the Pelican collectible. Which, that's interesting. I'm not sure if that's super helpful. And one kind of assumes that we can't... We're probably gonna find every animal in a somewhat obvious location and somewhat pathed out like this. I believe there is a jellyfish collectible, so I probably would need to swim around where the jellyfish are. Yeah, and then unless this tower opens another couple of areas up in some way, maybe makes it so that we transport to a different world or a different variation on this world, a different time or something, this is going to be an incredibly small area. So let's do this and see how this works. So we brought a fox to life, and then the fox brought to life a mini tower slash elevator? Slash stairs, okay. So it almost makes you wonder, has there been someone else to this island that brought the pigs to life, that brought the seagulls to life? Were there more puzzles? And then I guess the next question would be, we're now moving over to what is either a monkey or just a horrific human deformed baby. Interesting. And a big wall to open to the next section. Let's see, let's take some moments here before we wrap up. Pause brings you here. So the main menu basically is just a pause screen. Let's see, extras. We've unlocked like only this outfit. So there are 6 outfits. Toys wise, we have a 3D model of a fox, which is nice. I like that they've started putting 3D model viewers into games, but it really does come down to the fact that Unity and Unreal kind of do that by default, and it's just a bit of sample code. So there's a pig toy, a boat toy. I don't know what this is supposed to be from the outline. And then you have a wind chime toy and a wind propeller fan toy. Emblems. If there are 4 emblems, they probably are 4 emblems in this area. So I probably should need to go back and look some more. But let's not do that because we probably will have some more ability. There's 6 of these lullabies, so there's probably only 1 in general. And this whole lullaby will play in its totality once we have it, so I really wouldn't want to listen to the whole thing. And then keyholes. I have no idea what that is. And then gallery wise, seems like we have a pretty large number of images. So yeah, it seems like they're a little proud of what they did, but really this is going to be a short experience. What we don't have here is, I'm hitting the back button, I'm not seeing any map, which even for a small island like this, being able to see a map, if not mark a map, is something that would be useful. They've already programmed in spires of light, lines of light, so it would be easy to mark on the map and put in another spire of light. I'm hoping we get some more abilities or some more understanding of abilities we might already have, and then we'll come back to this area. One hopes that this game doesn't just abruptly end. Doesn't seem like any of the triggers or the right bumps do anything. Oops. That opens that door. I didn't mean to do that. You press B and you like kneel down, but you don't even stay knelt down. Or maybe it's just the platform he's on. So that doesn't seem like that does anything. And A's, I don't think a jump is going to do anything. And there's no way to zoom in with your eyes and look further, and that would be very helpful on this. I would have to definitely classify this as mostly a 3D puzzle game, which I guess you would kind of compare to The Witness, except for, unlike The Witness, it doesn't have hundreds of puzzles in it. It seems like it's going to have a very small number of puzzles that are more 3D and environmental. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.